I talk.
Probably not a good idea.
Yum.
Well, there you go. Page coming up soon. Needs time to get... Now, recording this record as a three-piece, did that make much of a difference this time round?
Not really. It took a little pressure off me to not have to worry about the fourth guy and, you know, getting his guitar parts and stuff. I just, you know, I got it exactly the way I wanted it, so it was pretty similar to the way we recorded in the past. A lot of times we record as a three-piece and then overdub the second rhythm guitar part. That was pretty much the same thing we did, except for I was the second rhythm guitarist as well as the main rhythm guitarist.
Okay, your producer Sardi gave you guys a pretty hard time, did he? Dave Sardi, making sure he got the best performance out of you.
No, he's a sweetheart. He's a really great guy. You know, we just I think I said that in the bio a while back to give him help. He's a totally great guy. I mean, he's really really easy to get along with, and I like him very much.
But as a producer, to get the best performance out of a band, do you think sometimes that sort of, you know, he's got to put pressure on the band to get the best out of them?
I think, yeah. I mean, in our case, we've been together 8 years, and we could be lazy, you know, and say, oh, we got a decent performance. We don't need to, we don't need to do it again. And Sardi didn't want us to get away with that. So it was good to have somebody else in there, you know, to prompt us to try to get a more exciting take. For the most part, we try to get pretty exciting takes anyway, not just the correct performance of the song. But we would have let a couple of songs slide probably if he hadn't been such a jerk. Slave driving asshole. No, great. I'm joking.
Your drummer John took a while to come around when Dave wanted him to set his drum kit up in the bathroom. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, John tends to be difficult in general because he's a drummer, and I think that's they feel that the need to express themselves or something. And it wasn't just putting in the bathroom. Sardi was making him change his snare heads on every single take because he hits the drums really hard, and puts these big divots in the drum head. So they were it was hysterical to see them constantly going back and forth. John could be very dogmatic and stick to his, I don't need to change. Sounds fine. It'd be like he would make him change his head. So it was good. I didn't have to do it this time.
Would it be fair to say that with Aftertaste you've gone full circle and sort of rediscovered your roots?
Whenever you make an album, you obviously have the last album you made in mind, and I generally go and listen to the previous albums before we hit the studio, and Betty was somewhat of a reaction against all the hubbub on Meantime, and this time I felt like some of the stuff on Betty was more me indulging myself, and my bandmates might not have been completely into what I was forcing down their throats. So I just made sense to make a completely Helmet album, and I got to do other things in the course of the last 2 years to express my own incredibly interesting and diverse guitar talents.
one of which was the cover of Björk's "Army of Me." What made you choose that track?
Good, because it's a good song. It was great. It was a John Bonham drum sample that she used, and it was just a really good song. And it just sounded like Helmet to me. It just had this like lilting bass line, and I just thought it was really cool. This really straight, heavy drum beat. John gets stuck on a different song or band or something every time we go on tour. And I said we were out with Nine Inch Nails at the time, and he was playing that Björk song every single night before he went on stage. He played stuff until you just get completely sick of it. And I said that's a cool song. We should do a cover of that for this thing. We didn't have any songs to give up for that thing because we were just recording and stuff, and I didn't want to give up one of our songs, so we thought we'd do a cover. Some people really like it, some people hate it.
I read a quote where you said that if you stripped this album back to 9 tracks, you'd have something like AC/DC's Back in Black. Is that one of your favourite records and something that you sort of aspire to?
My favorite AC/DC record is Highway to Hell, but Back in Black is, I think, kind of, I mean, that said, is kind of the measuring stick, I think, for all rock bands. Should be, anyway. I mean, there's 10 songs on that album. They're just, every song is great. I'm just a huge Bon Scott fan. He had the scariest voice of any singer I ever have heard in my life. I mean, I just thought he was sick. And but yeah, Back in Black is obviously was such a huge album, and he influenced so many people, I think. And so I think, I mean, I kind of look at Helmet as sort of a twisted version of AC/DC in a way. You know, I mean, I would never compare us to AC/DC because Malcolm and Angus are two of the greatest guitar players on earth, and I'm just kind of, you know, slogging my way through music, trying to do what I can do. And I think what they do is so to the point and powerful and just no bullshit. And there's so many pretentious bands out there now that I don't know. I just really appreciate what they do. I'd rather be perceived as a kind of a bunch of truck driving guys from Oregon than you know, sort of East Village art critics or something.
A song like Pure, is that sort of born out of that? It's quite a simple song, you know, but it's
absolutely. I just couldn't think of anything else to put with that riff, so I just played that riff for the whole song. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of think every song on the album to a certain extent. I mean, I'm not specifically trying to cop an AC/DC vibe on anything. It's more the single-mindedness of what they do that I admire. You know, how it's so focused, and there's no. I don't think you're going to like hear an AC/DC album. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but in the future where they bust out the sampler and the synthesizers and you know the orchestra or whatever. They just don't need to. They're just a great band. I mean, Phil Rudd's back now, and he's just incredible. You know, just funky and fat without trying to play funk. You know, I just think they groove their asses off, and it's basically what we're trying to do. You know, we don't have any sort of pretensions about being high art or anything. You know, it's a rock band.
It's great to see with AC/DC too that that's the same lineup now that they're touring with that they had in the Back in Black days, and I was fortunate enough to see them on their last tour a few in November. And they've lost nothing. I saw them in the Back in Black tour, and I saw them I think it was the Money Talks tour after that. And comparing the latest show with the Back in Black tour, the guys haven't lost any fire in the belly, and, you know, that's 15, 16, 17 years ago now or something. So it's fantastic to see.
A band like that can't lose its fire because they carved out their own niche. You know, they've stayed true to what they do. And I think bands that need to reinvent themselves with every sort of fashion trend in music are the ones that to me are you know, not going to stick around and are, you know, much less interesting. And a band like that has sort of a firm grasp on what they're setting out to do, and you know, have the conviction to stick with it, and it's, you know, it's sincere. It's very pure.